Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ballet Rain.
There's always that small handful of people, the very special people that were kind of monumental pillars that kind of changed the whole landscape of their particular art or craft. And of course, ballet is no exception. Ballet has quite the rich history, so of course there are quite a few particular figures that are held in high esteem in the Ballet Hall of Fame.
Yeah, where their portraits get hung and then shined every day, and get looked upon admiringly by all the dancers of today.
And so that is the purpose of today's video. We're going to be celebrating and appreciating these historical ballet figures. Some of them are less historical than others, but that's besides the point. And we're going to be walking y'all through the Ballet Hall of Fame, giving you a little rundown of their career and sort of the legacy and the mark that they left behind on the ballet world.
So, if you are ready to celebrate the lives of these monumental figures in ballet, then hit the like button, make sure you're sitting up straight, and we will start our stroll down the Hall of Fame.
Before we actually head to the Hall of Fame, of course, in the front lobby, there is a gift shop. So, cue the mug plug.
We want to extend a thank you to everybody who's been supporting us by buying our merch so far. It really, really helped us and our team to keep churning out the high quality, exquisite Ballet Nerd content for you guys every single week. To all of you who did that, thank you so much. It really means the world to us.
And if you would like to be a part of that as well, our merch shop will be linked above and below, where you can get your very own exquisite ballet nerding merch. There's something there for everybody, and we promise you're going to feel exquisite. On this tour today through the Hall of Fame, we're going to be following the timeline, going from the oldest to the most current ballet figures.
And the first beautiful portrait that we get to see, hopefully framed in a gilded gold frame or something, is the one and only Marie Taglioni.
Marie Taglioni was born in 1804 in Sweden, and she was kind of the portrait, the epitome of the Romantic era ballerina.
Most of the photos, if you search in Google Romantic era ballet, most of the photos are of Marie Taglioni.
Now, Marie wasn't always appreciated or recognized for her talent. Early on in her ballet training, she was quite overlooked. She was considered quite plain and had a hunchback and stuff like that.
And I think they even said that she had like abnormally long arms and legs. And they didn't find her to be very promising as a dancer. In fact, one of her teachers was reported to have said, "Will this little hunchback ever learn to dance?"
Having been rejected by a lot of school and ballet masters, Marie did most of her training under her father, Filippo Taglioni, and he trained her very rigorously, like 4 hours in the morning, holding these crazy poses in order to help her overcome her physical limitations.
Yeah. Reportedly, he trained her so intensely that by the end of the day, she was so exhausted that she needed an attendant to help her undress and get into bed. Like, she was exhausted. He trained her very, very, very intensely.
The hard work did pay off. She and her father worked very, very hard together, and the two of them created her signature role, La Solfège, which she debuted in 1832.
And because her father had created this role on her, it was tailor-made to her to highlight her strengths and also to minimize any imperfections in her technique or anything. For instance, a lot of the sylph's mannerisms are like in this position here, with the arms crossed over the body. And this was sort of because Marie had very long arms. And to kind of keep them contained, he just put them here.
For a lot of ballet.
She does a lot of dancing like this. And it's so funny that that became such a trademark. You do this, everyone knows sylph.
Everybody knows this. And also like any ethereal creature.
Like even Cupid.
Cupid and fairies and everything, they all hold their arms here, and it started with Marie and her father. Marie is also credited to be the first ballerina to ever dance on point. There were more dancers around that time that were kind of experimenting with point work, but they would use it mostly just sort of as a trick once in a while, but not really use it throughout the entire ballet. But Marie was the first one, allegedly, to change that. She and her father incorporated a lot more point work and integrated point work as a part of the art and the character as a part of ballet itself. And it blew people's mind. And it completely swept the nation. Like, everyone was in awe of this little girl, once called a hunchback, who was able to kind of defy the odds and really master this sort of effect of this weightless, ethereal sylph.
So the sylph and subsequently Marie became the symbol of Romantic era ballet and sort of ushered in this craze for ballet, sometimes referred to as the cult of the ballerina, which was essentially the 1830s ballet corps trend. The ballerinas were huge.
Yeah, they were like the superstars of that era.
Yeah, like the pop culture icons of that time.
I feel like a lot of the ballet corps trend today is influenced by that sort of era, like the sylph particularly, like the pearls, the fluff, the white, the pink, the bows and the ribbons. All of that came from this sort of Romantic era ballerina, and thus Marie Taglioni. Supposedly, Marie was so famous and so adored that her fans bought her pointe shoes for 200 rubles and proceeded to cook them in a sauce and eat them. We do not condone this. This is not good fan behavior.
This is very bad fan behavior.
That is very bad fan behavior. Do not recommend this.
You think the stands these days are crazy? No. The 1830s stands were...
They were something
unhinged.
else.
They were crazy.
But honestly, Marie was a very groundbreaking sort of... She was a pioneer, in a way, for the ballet world, experimenting with pointe work, pushing past her own personal boundaries, but also the boundaries of the ballet world at the time. And she really expanded the craft and the art form. And since then, pointe work has obviously advanced so much. But it did take her to kind of set us off on that path. So we have to thank Marie for that. Finally, a dancer where we have video recordings of the legendary Anna Pavlova.
The swan herself.
The swan herself. We'll get to that in a bit.
She, being Russian, trained at the Vaganova Ballet Academy. Supposedly, she also struggled a lot with ballet because she had really arched feet, so they were very weak, and very weak ankles as well. And she just had a very frail, slim, delicate figure.
Yeah, she had like a lot of muscular deficiencies, which was very apparent in her youth. And so she was considered, again, like Taglioni, not a very promising ballerina.
Back in the day, they wanted petite, strong Italian ballerinas.
Yes.
So that was in vogue at the time.
Yeah. Anna wasn't like that.
Nevertheless, she worked really hard. She took a lot of extra classes with different teachers around at that time, including, of course, the one and only Enrico Cicchetti. You'll remember him from our Ballet Styles video, linked above and below. Anyway, Cicchetti was her personal trainer slash coach for a very long time, and he kind of was the one that helped coach her into her talent, into her potential as a dancer.
After graduating from the Vaganova Academy, she became a ballerina with the Nijinsky Ballet in 1906. She was significantly weaker than a lot of her peers and a lot of the other ballerinas in the company at that time, and she often displayed what people said was poor technique in a lot of her performances.
Because of this, she was actually encouraged to really lean into the delicate side and her ethereal, sort of fragile nature, and to use that to her advantage to establish her own voice as a dancer on the stage.
See, why can't the ballet world be like that?
It's
like,
true.
Can't we just embrace people's uniqueness?
Back in the day when it was like, you know what, you have horrible technique, but you know what?
You can still bring something to the table. You can still bring something to a performance and like make something of yourself. But we'll save that conversation for another video because that is going to be a deep topic. If you're interested in that, let us know in the comments. Despite her technical weaknesses, the one thing that Anna had going for her was her expressiveness and her passion as an artist, and that was sort of her ticket to success.
It was her ticket to greatness.
Her coach Enrico Cicchetti once said, "I can teach everything related to dancing, but Pavlova has something that can only be taught by God." I guess that kind of speaks for itself.
But it's true. You watch the videos of Pavlova.
Yeah.
She is so expressive in such a candid way.
She completely emotes and she like gives her whole heart into her dancing, and it's so obvious and so apparent.
Pavlova's iconic signature role is, of course, The Dying Swan, which was a solo choreographed especially for her by Mikhail Fokin. He also choreographed the Firebird, but that's beside the point. And it became her signature role. He choreographed it to the piece called The Swan by Camille Saint-Saëns.
And this solo was just a little glimpse of a swan's last moments of life. And it was a very simple piece, surprisingly very simple choreography, but it served as a very beautiful mechanism to deliver her amazing artistry and sort of her emotions and her storytelling on top of it. I think it's actually a very impressive solo because the technical steps are very simple by nature. So if you can make it look good, and make someone feel something with these simple steps, it's kind of a testament of, you know, someone's artistic abilities and prowess. That was her role. And this one was sensational. Like, people would come out from everywhere just to see her in this particular solo. She actually became the very first ballerina to tour the world with lots of other pieces, but particularly The Swan. This was like her signature role. She would take everywhere. It was her thing.
She toured internationally around the world, kind of like a ballet missionary.
Exactly.
If you will. Like she would travel to places, she would bring ballet to them.
Touch their hearts and fly somewhere else.
Exactly.
Now ballerinas tour all the time, but she was the first to do it.
She was the first. She really played a big part in bringing ballet literally all over the world. But it's beautiful.
It was a beautiful career.
Anna was incredibly devoted to the art of ballet, even all the way up to the end of her life. She became very ill with pneumonia, and she was offered an operation that would save her life, but it meant that she would never dance again. And reportedly, she said, "If I can't dance, I would rather be dead."
She died fairly young, unfortunately, with the complications that come with pneumonia. And it was just before she was supposed to perform The Swan. And her last words were, "Prepare my swan costume." She had intended to go on stage and perform despite her illness. And that night at the theater, obviously the news had been spread, you know, the great star has passed. On that night when she was supposed to perform, just the spotlight moved across the stage as the music of The Swan was playing. And it was a beautiful way to just remember and appreciate her for bringing the love of ballet to so many people. And
it's such a sad story.
I know, I got chilled.
Anna Pavlova, a legend, really.
Truly a legend, an international star.
Anna Pavlova, what a lady. We make sure to polish frame of her portrait very often.
Yes.
Make sure it's nice and clean and shiny. What an exquisite, beautiful, glowing career she's had for a really, really amazing artist.
Absolutely.
Moving along, being careful not to touch the stanchions. And here we have one of the greatest male dancers of the early 20th century. This is, of course, Vaslav Nijinsky.
Yes.
He was the first in a lineage of iconic male danseurs. And he was sort of like, again, groundbreaking in a way. He really redefined the persona of the male danseur.
Nijinsky was born in Russia in 1889, and he did his training at the Vaganova Academy in Russia, where he was reportedly quite the prodigy.
He was a talented kid. He showed a lot of promise right from the start. He went through the Vaganova training, graduated into the Mariinsky Ballet in 1907, then shortly after that left to join the newly formed Ballet Russe in 1909, where he quickly became the star danseur under the direction of Sergei Diaghilev.
While Nijinsky was with the Ballet Russe, he had a lot of ballets choreographed specifically for him, and some of these are still loved and performed today. These, of course, include Le Spectre de la Rose and, of course, Petrushka. So Nijinsky was the first to perform those. Those two roles became like sort of synonymous with Nijinsky himself.
I think Petrushka's on his tombstone or his memorial.
Yeah, they have we'll put up a picture here. There's like a stone sculpture of him in his Petrushka costume on his tombstone.
It is the role that he attributed to himself, his own signature, like self-professed as well, not just the one he was known for by other people, but also he himself as an artist really gravitated toward that Petrushka role. If you watch Petrushka, it's scary ballet, all right?
Scary ballet. It's a very scary ballet.
It's a very scary ballet. But you know what? Nijinsky was a eccentric,
very eclectic man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Le Spectre and Petrushka are completely, totally different roles. Both are staples in today's repertoire, and they're also a testament of Stravinsky's immense dramatic range. Le Spectre de la Rose was purposely choreographed to have very soft port de bras.
Yeah, because he's a spirit.
because he's a spirit and also a flower.
Oh, a rose. It's
So-
a very gentle spirit.
Yeah, it's
like
very-
a gentleman.
Exactly. And then you have Petrushka, which is a puppet, completely unhinged. It's a very tragic, scary ballet.
But it does showcase how versatile he was as a dancer.
His incredible technical prowess as well. He
Yeah.
was famed for his airtime. He was one of the first danseurs to really push that airtime. Those huge jumps that danseurs today are synonymous with. So that was kind of Nijinsky's thing.
I can say definitely that I have never seen anybody like him or anybody who made that tremendous impression that he made. Often people say, did he really jump so high? And I always say, I don't know how far from the ground, but I know it was near the stars.
Unfortunately, there are no video recordings.
I would have loved to go back in time and see him.
Can you imagine?
That would be so cool. Now, of course, this wouldn't be the Hall of Fame if we didn't highlight what might be Nijinsky's most famous or infamous work in history. And that, of course, is the ballet The Rite of Spring, which he choreographed for the Ballet Russe in 1912. 1912 was an era in the arts realm, and I feel like Nijinsky was also sort of a pioneer in modern contemporary works. Before then, everything was very much classical, a lot more poised, and then here comes Nijinsky with, let's make a ballet about human sacrifice.
This ballet, of course, iconic for the riot it incited. People were in shambles.
The police had to get involved. It was a night. But it did sort of, I mean, with all the riots and like all the hate he went through surrounding his ballet, it did open up the way for many people after him to explore more of the contemporary and modern realms of dance and art. And so that was kind of his sort of statement.
It's interesting though, because Nijinsky was reportedly a very meek, quiet, unassuming guy off stage. But when he stepped onto the stage, he had an incredible amount of virtuosity and of power and like
energy.
And also, of course, his technical feats. And as an artist as well, he was cemented as an artist that was very unafraid of the avant-garde, very unafraid of pushing the boundaries of art and really helping to expand things in that way.
So that was Nijinsky, a trailblazer, an iconic man, amazing dancer, a monumental figure in both the ballet world and also the contemporary and modern dance worlds as well. We're halfway there. Refill your tea, get some more snacks.
I want some snacks.
We're gonna get some bubble tea later, actually.
Wait, really?
Yes, because today we're actually gonna see an eclipse in Dallas.
Woo!
It should
eclipse
be
day.
happening soon, so we're trying to.
I know, we're trying to hurry.
We're trying to hurry.
We
so
gotta
can catch
speed
it.
through this tour, you guys. We gotta speed through.
Hit the like button right now if you haven't already. If you want to see some exclusive footage,
footage
of the eclipse at the end of the video, so hit the like button right now.
Next in the Hall of Fame in the year 1919 is the iconic Dame Margot Fonteyn. She has enjoyed one of the longest and most illustrious careers of any dancer ever. Although her name wasn't actually Margot Fonteyn originally. She was born Margaret Evelyn Hookham in 1919, and then later she changed her name to Margot Fonteyn to sort of fit her brand and her persona as a dancer.
She joined the Royal Ballet when she was quite young, like in her teens, and she was already like a prima ballerina by the time she was 20. So that's already a great start for her career.
Already off to a beautiful start.
One of her signature roles was Aurora, Princess Aurora in The Sleeping Beauty. And she was the first ballerina to kind of make those iconic balances in the rodage a thing. Apparently it was just kind of a fluke. She was really on it one evening, but it ended up becoming sort of a new standard for every other Aurora after her.
She was a big inspiration to the British choreographer Frederick Ashton. She was kind of a muse of his. He used her as inspiration for Sylvia, Undine, Cinderella, and later on Marguerite. We're getting to that.
We cannot talk about Margot Fonteyn without mentioning her iconic partnership with Rudolf Nureyev, which began in 1962. Now, Nureyev was quite a bit younger than her. They started their partnership when he was 20, and by that time she was in her 40s. Many were thinking she should retire. By nowadays standards, I mean, 40 is, I mean, if you can make it into your 40s as a dancer, like, hats off to you. You made it. I mean, she was not really an exception. Everyone was like, oh, she'll probably retire soon. She's in her 40s. You know, she probably wants to settle down. But when Nureyev came, he just somehow breathed new life into Margot, and she continued to have a very long career, and they danced together for another 20 years.
They took the whole world by storm, and I think if you ask anybody, even to this day, one of the most famous ballet partnerships,
Rudolf
Nureyev and Margot Fonteyn are probably the first names to come to mind.
It was kind of funny because Margot and Rudolf were like complete opposites stylistically and like artistically. Margot is much more refined British ballerina, just very clean, very pure. And then Nureyev, as we'll get to in a second, was kind of just like a wild, untamed animal. And I guess that kind of added some character into their dynamic, and people really loved them, and they did really work well together.
They also both pushed each other to be better as well. So that's part of the reason why it worked so well as a partnership.
Yeah.
Because even though they were total opposites, they assisted each other and helped each other both to excel. Margot and Rudolf actually were close friends for the rest of their lives. Yeah. They were famously loyal to each other. Even after Margot retired, she would often talk with Rudolf on the phone. They would visit each other. Also, when she was ill towards the end of her life, Rudolf paid for her hospital bills. They were very close friends, and they really supported each other in that way.
I think that's beautiful. I love that.
It's beautiful. It was a lifelong partnership.
Technically speaking, Margot was hailed as like one of the finest ballerinas of her time and in history. She was known for her very fluid, very graceful, elegant movement and all her clean, beautiful, pristine lines. She was also very emotional on stage, and she had a very artful way of delivering like the character of the role, and she was very passionate in executing everything.
I think that maturity for her as an artist, it really reads on stage. She had the very developed understanding of the characters.
In a different way than just technique refinement, it was like a whole total person and artistic refinement.
Yeah.
And that's what she brought to the table, and I think it's still very beautiful and something that we treasure. She was quite the lady.
A wonderful person, wonderful dancer. She was appointed a Dame Commander of the British Empire in 1956, and she was also very rightfully given the title Prima Ballerina Assoluta by the Royal Ballet in 1979, and this title was only awarded to 3 ballerinas throughout the whole 20th century. So you can imagine what an honor this was, and of course Margot deserves it. So there you have it. There's Margot Fonteyn, the beautiful, exquisite ballerina. Her legacy lives on, honestly. Like, everybody knows her name. Margot Fonteyn is one of the most beautiful dancers and artists of all time.
Now we have to go on to Fonteyn's other half, and that is, of course, none other than Rudolf Nureyev. Ta-ta!
I think he is more than just a dancer, but also a cultural icon. Yeah. He was one of the dancers that made it big outside of just dance.
Definitely.
You know, like how you'll have like Simone Biles. Like, she's big in the gymnastics world, but also like more as an icon. Like, the whole world knows Simone Biles. Nureyev was like that before ballet.
He, of course, trained with the Pavlova Academy in Russia, but he actually started very late, relatively. He started at 17.
Which is, by today's standards, most people would tell you that you cannot make it as a dancer if you start so late.
That is a stereotype, not true, but that is considered quite late. He showed quite a bit of promise, graduated,
and then he joined the Nijinsky, or at the time it was called the Kirov, and he danced there for 3 years. And then while on tour in Paris, he actually defected. He left Russia, and he decided to live in Paris to take the Western world by storm. He was one of the first dancers to defect during the Cold War.
Quite a bold move.
It was a bold move. His defection took headlines internationally.
Yeah.
All around the world, everyone's like, oh my god,
he left.
This ballet star, he moved. He's now in the West and not in Russia. So yeah, he caused a statement. So apparently, critics actually likened him to Nijinsky and considered him to be the only one who was sort of Nijinsky's equal.
After that, he went to the Royal Ballet in London, where he started his iconic partnership with Dame Margot Fonteyn. They had the privilege of working with Frederick Ashton, one of my personal favorite choreographers, but we're not going to get emotional about that. And he choreographed Marguerite and Armand on Fonteyn and Nureyev.
Yes.
So that was kind of their signature role.
I'm pretty sure it was so much of their signature role that no other ballet partnership attempted to perform this until the 21st century.
It's so hard to talk about Nureyev without mentioning Fonteyn, because they were like this. They're almost synonymous.
Their careers were like together.
Yeah.
Regarding Nureyev himself, he had a fandom, a crazy fandom.
Indeed, he did.
They would follow him all over the place. Yeah. Every city he toured to, they would always be there tracking him down. Like, I'm telling you, you guys, like,
the fans of then were crazy.
But yeah, he was a celebrity. He appeared on the Muppet Show, so of course
he appeared on the Muppet Show.
He danced with Miss Piggy's.
Comment below if you want a commentary on Nureyev partnership with Miss Piggy. Leave a comment, let us know. We're gonna get too many comments on this video.
to have the brilliant, talented Rudolf Nureyev on our show. He's my favorite opera singer.
Okay, now technically speaking, like his technical prowess, need we say anything aside from just like squeal in awe of one of his recordings? He was a turner, he was a jumper, he was the whole package, and he would always execute with like everything he had. There was no such thing as 100%. It was like always 200% for Rudolf Nureyev.
He was a risk taker. He was always pushing. He was always pushing for higher jumps, more turns, more athleticism, more like physicality. He had an incredible drive just to give everything, and he had an insane amount of just raw passion on the stage. And I think that was part of the reason why he became so acclaimed as a danseur. People loved him. They loved to see an athlete and an artist mixed in one person. There are many people that were in awe of his dancing, in awe of his looks, in awe of his captivating nature on the stage.
Nureyev made huge advancements in the ballet technique, especially for the male dancer. Kind of set the bar like that much higher.
What a man.
He was great. One of the greats for
Gone
sure.
too soon.
Like when you think about like the greats in ballet, you always think Rudolf Nureyev.
He's the first person you think about.
Exactly.
Him and Baryshnikov.
Yeah, him and Baryshnikov. We're getting to him in a second.
We're getting to him in a second.
The last portrait on the wall that we're going to show you today, I mean, of course, there are so many amazing ballet legends in history.
New exhibit coming soon. Please buy more from the gift shop.
But these are like some of the biggest figures. The last one we're going to be talking about today is, of course, Mikhail Baryshnikov. If you're watching Mr. Baryshnikov,
you're a very big inspiration to dancers all over the world.
We're going to nerd out about you in just a second. If you want us to interview you.
Can we hit you up? Can we interview you?
Our contact info's in the description box.
Can you imagine interviewing Baryshnikov?
That would be a dream.
I would faint.
Baryshnikov trained in Russia, at the Vaganova Academy, and graduated into the Nijinsky Ballet in 1967. And he was considered the third of the great male dancer lineage, from Nijinsky to Nureyev, and then it was Baryshnikov.
He was recognized there as the most perfect dancer ever seen.
Yes.
So it's already a testament to how...
That's enough. The video's over.
He's the greatest dancer ever seen. Jeez. The bar is here.
Up here, out of the frame.
Because
of
Baryshnikov, you guys. He has a very smooth elegance and effortlessness to his movement. It's very like collected, very confident. He just exudes this like presence on the stage. It's really something.
It's incredible. It's a beautiful experience for sure.
We are so lucky to have so many beautiful recordings of him performing.
Yes.
Him doing all the amazing things that Baryshnikov does.
Yes.
He danced with Nijinsky for quite some time, but he was very dissatisfied with the artistic restrictions that were in place in that area at that time. I think throughout his career, he really just sought to expand his horizon and dance all the dances, do all the things, do all the art. And as you'll see in a moment, it's beautiful how that played out. It's beautiful. While on tour to Canada, he defected, and he was met in North America with great success.
Baryshnikov joined the American Ballet Theater in 1974, and he danced there as a principal danseur for 4 years.
It was there at ABT that he began his iconic, famous partnership with the ballerina Gelsey Kirkland. They danced a lot together, and they were a beautiful partnership. After those 4 years at ABT, he left to spend a year at the New York City Ballet. This was like towards the end of Balanchine's life. But yeah, again, he was really just seeking to expand his repertoire. What I love about Baryshnikov is that he was always just seeking to try new things, and he always just looked for new experiences, throw himself at new challenges.
I love that so much. He showed us what it was like to be the full package, to not just specialize in one single thing, but to try everything and to figure out what you like, what you can excel in, and he excelled in all of it.
And also he worked with a lot of really famous choreographers as well.
Jerome
Robbins. He also worked with Alvin Ailey, and I think he's probably most well known for his work with Twyla Tharp.
He definitely got to broaden his artistic range and like kind of go into the contemporary modern world as well.
Yes.
And also Frederick Ashton's Rhapsody was created for Baryshnikov as well. I love the Rhapsody pas de deux.
I could cry.
It's so dreamy. Beyond ballet, kind of like Nureyev, he kind of had a career and became a star outside of the ballet world. He starred in a lot of TV shows and movies and things of that nature.
Some of his most famous movies are The Turning Point and also White Nights with the iconic tap legend Gregory Hines. That's where the famous 11 pirouettes clip comes from. But yeah, there's some amazing dance numbers in White Nights. Anyway, after a year at New York City Ballet, he returned to ABT not only as a dancer, but also as the artistic director. So he held this position for 10 years, from 1980 to 1989.
He also had a lot of like artistic endeavors. He's co-founded a touring company, the White Oak Dance Project, and also founded his own art center, the Mikhail Baryshnikov Art Center. So he left quite a legacy to live on.
He's done so much
and contributed and gave so much to not just the ballet community, but like the broader dance communities, arts, theater, and movies and such. He was a very powerful and influential man, and we're very, very grateful for everything that he was able to accomplish.
So yeah, there is Baryshnikov. Definitely a once in an eternity dancer.
Mr. Baryshnikov, if you're watching, well done.
Good work.
We celebrate your amazing work in all the communities that you were able to touch.
We hope you'll continue to do what you love for many, many, many more years. Well, alas and alack, we have come to the end of the hallway. There's a little dead end right there. We're done.
There are so many other amazing dancers in the Hall of Fame that we didn't get to touch on.
This is just the first corridor. There are like halls and halls and halls and halls of fame.
Each of them deserves so much honor and so much respect. A lot of them were trailblazers and created things that were so groundbreaking and so unheard of and like way out of the box for that time, which is nowadays very much normal. But if it weren't for them, who knows where we would be. It's always good to honor our elders, the ones who have come before us and who have, you know, laid out such a beautiful path for us to continue upon. So for that, we definitely have to thank them.
We can even stand up for this.
Yeah, we can even stand up for this one. Very good. Please press the like button to celebrate all of these amazing figures in ballet. And also make sure you leave a comment to let us know your favorite details about all of these very, very famous people. And of course, if you want to see more videos like this, then please subscribe to the channel.
And until our next video comes out, you can watch our playlists above and below. We have already made lots and lots of ballet nerd content for you to enjoy. So please do not hesitate to go check them out. Anyway, I think that is all from us for now. This is Ballet Rain signing off until the next video. Bye.
Hi, is it time?
Really? You guys, we gotta go. The eclipse time.